Welcome back. And if you're only joining us now, you've missed a little bit of the story of how Yoko got founded by Lungisa Machoba and his team out of Yoko here in Cape Town. Now, the fintech space is becoming increasingly exciting, and joining us now is Daniel Swanepoel, an advisor and business consultant from Daniel John Consulting, and he'll be talking to us about how this particular industry is growing and how to get started in the fintech space. Daniel, good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get into the crux of it, tell us a little bit more about Daniel John. What do you guys do? What's your context of background in terms of that?
Okay, so I personally am from corporate banking as a background. Then I decided to go into strategy consulting, where I help companies to focus predominantly on market entry for African markets.
Yeah.
And in South Africa, we also focus on the smaller entrepreneurs, the young ones that want to move up in the space.
Yeah.
And we guide them accordingly, give them some advice, how to access finance, what to do, what not to do, and hopefully help them to achieve success.
Now, getting into that, what are the things that we did? So before the break, we had Lungisa from Yoko. And one of the critical challenges that they faced with in the beginning of their journey was raising that capital. What typically advice do you give to young startups that are about to get into, especially an industry as capital intensive as the financial services industry? What would you say to them in terms of their approach?
Look, finance is always going to be a problem. No matter where in the world we are, to access finance for business, it's always difficult. As an entrepreneur, you always think you have the best idea. But the financier often comes with so many questions, and then you doubt yourself. I often say to the guys that we coach, align yourself with someone that you really admire in this space. Try and see if you can't find a mentor in this space. By doing that already, you can learn step by step how to put together a business concept that makes a bit more sense for someone on the financial side. Yeah. And also, you know, with finance, it's all about perseverance. It is a lot of work. Do not think just because you have an idea, you can get finance. You have to put in the work. You have to prove. You have to convince the person on the other side of the table that if they put money into your project, that it is going to bring a return for them on their money.
Now, in that context as well, I think you've touched a little bit on it, and I just want to narrow in on that. I'm aware that about 85% of startup founders really try to raise their own financing themselves. Is that a right thing to do if so few of them, if it takes up so much time and it's so network and resource restrictive? Is it a smart thing to do, or is it better to outsource that capacity?
You know, to outsource, it depends. You know, if you go for larger amounts of finance, and I would say, you know, then in excess of $1 million US, then yes, by all means, outsource. For the smaller amounts, it makes it very expensive if you outsource it. Yeah. And very often in South Africa, we do have access to some government support. Yeah. The problem is just we don't always know where to go. So it's just a matter of trying to find out from your local Cape Chamber of Commerce maybe, or some of the other government institutions, that they open a door for you and just guide you accordingly. And from there onwards, you have to find your way in. And remember, it's your business. You want to be successful, so make it happen.
Brilliant, brilliant. Now, I'm excited about what Yoko is doing. In fact, in general, I'm excited about where fintech is going. As someone coming out of the banking industry, do you feel that the disruptions in the fintech space that are coming out, that are changing the way that people are doing business, is bad for the banking sector, or is it a good thing that we're evolving?
You see, for me, I always say disrupting business is good.
Yeah.
If I look at the rest of Africa and I look at finance models, then one thing is true. We cannot use the finance models that we used to address Africa's problems. Yeah. We have to find unique models, and we have to redesign them. With Yoko, if you think, what have they done? They've taken something that has been in the market for many years, something that we used to, and basically, apart from making it a little bit easier to use, their focus is very much on service. Yeah. Their service is just so much better, so it makes it a lot more user-friendly. Yeah. It's easier for younger startups to actually use it. Yeah. And that's your key to success.
And I mean, I can imagine, delivering a POS system to a business in 2 days, whereas the typical bank can take weeks for these things. It's actually a very, very good point.
But exactly. And you see, at the end, it's down to service, because our younger entrepreneurs, they are technology savvy. Yeah. They understand. So they want things easy, quick and easy, something that I understand, how I need to do it. that's very similar to some of my social media that I use already, and then I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Now, as we wrap this up, I just want us to focus on two things from your side. Firstly, obviously, what comes naturally to me is that the natural progression of growth of a fintech solution like a Yoko is into the African market. What advice would you typically give someone like that going into the market? What for you gives unique market entry into Africa? And lastly, any young person watching this show today, how do they get into a venture in this particular field?
You know, I mean, for specifically for Yoko, if they have to enter the African market, what is interesting, because they rely on mobile technology, you have to analyze West Africa separate from East. In the West Africa, data usage is much higher per person than it is on the East side. That's why something like M-Pesa is so successful on the East African side. And this obviously for their business model will play a role. So they'll have to come to a place where they have to decide, okay, are we going the data route or are we going a USSD route? And then in this way, we still provide a unique solution.
And then a young person getting into this field, how do they go about doing it?
For a young person, first make sure that you have something that is unique, that is slightly different. And remember, like we've already said, your key should be on something that's a bit innovative, something different, but remember you must be able to deliver on service. And then it's perseverance. We have a lot of venture capital hubs and other institutions and groups that you can network with that will guide you. And they will definitely guide you in and help you to achieve financial success as well for your project.
Thank you so much. That was Daniel Swanepoel from Daniel and John Consulting, talking to us about how to make it happen in financial technology and taking a solution to the rest of the continent. Join us again after the break as we wrap up what we've learned this evening, as well as go into talking about what we can learn in terms of getting into business as well in South Africa. Do join us after the break.